guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Today we're going to jump right into it about, I forgot to change my window. let me change my window over here to the right thing. There we go. All right. And I'll resize my window. All right, sorry about that. Men are happier, women are struggling. The reason why I think this is, we keep hearing that women are empowered and they're doing all the things and they can now avoid men or use men or sleep with men or toss men aside. They're getting hired more than men. They're making more money than men. Oh, shouldn't they have it all in the world? Guys are adapting. Men are adapting to being single, not having to worry about marriage, not having to worry about maybe growing up and having a family, and they're adapting already just in a couple of years. I got a couple of quick stories to kind of set up the theme, and then we'll get to the main point here. I read this, and this is what kicked this off, and thank you for the user that sent this in over on betterbachelor.locals.com. Two South Florida teachers share concerns about low-pay staff shortages amid struggle to make ends meet. Now, of course, the media, our government, everybody's all on board for these weirdo teachers that they're struggling. Oh, they're not making enough money. And and this is basically two women that are complaining because they might have to get a second job, but then it makes her really tired. They say right here even, she takes her dog out after a long day of teaching fourth grade. Oh boy, I bet that's really hard. I'm sorry, go talk to some dudes that are working on an oil derrick for 12 hours a day. And she says, oh, I'm tired. I really want to go home and sleep, but I can't. Just because it's time to start her second job. Okay, I've had a second job pretty much all my life. Like, get on with it. You wanted to be a strong, independent female. Well, now you're strong and independent. Go get it, girl. This is the real world. Guys have had to be like this since pretty much the beginning of time. And she says her teacher's salary is $49,000 a year. And as a single mother, oh, there's a shock. And she says, oh, I'm working 85 hours a week. Well, hey, you know what? Here's what you could be instead of a single mom. You could have maybe found the right guy, had the kid once you were married, and your husband and you would be splitting everything. And the reason why I grumble about this is because I looked it up, and this is like an income calculator. If a female makes $49,000 a year, that's at the 62 percentile. So she's making more than average. And you know what else? I think teachers roughly work about 9 months, maybe 9.5 months a year, which means she gets 2.5 months off in the summertime, plus Christmas, usually plus a spring break, plus a teacher's week and holidays and all this other crap. So they only end up working like 9 months a year. So if you take $49,000 working 9 months, I did the math on this. I don't recall. I think it came out to something like the equivalent if she worked all month long would be almost another $15,000 because it comes in right around. She makes $5,000 a month, considering she makes $50,000 a year, but only works 9 months. So if she were to make another $15,000, it'd be $65,000 a year if she were working full time. But she's not. She's only working 9 months a year. So do I feel sorry for her? No, because what she's getting paid for the time and hours she's actually working is above the national average. They even say down here the let's see, what's right here, the median income for men who work more than 30 hours a week was $55,000. For men who work 40 plus hours, they had a median income of 48, and for women it was 58, and for women it was 48. So that means that she's making more than the median income, only working 9 months a year. So I don't feel sorry for her. I don't feel sorry for her at all. And they want more money, but in the same token, you guys have all seen the crazy TikTok videos where they're out there saying, oh, hey, okay, I'm going to teach you today, kids, about here's all the Z's and Z's that you can use, and I'm frog self, and look, we have the LGHD TV flag up in here, and we're gonna learn how to protest. Like, what? You don't get it. You don't deserve anything. And here's the end result. Math and reading scores plummet on a national test, erasing 20 years of progress. Okay, I wanted to get that ran out of the way because I'm going to keep going to here. New report, men work longer hours than women. That's why they make more money. This is from June 23rd, 2022, like a month and a half, 2 months ago. Men working more overtime than women. But do you see all do you see all the stories about men complaining about their overtime, like these two teachers that were complaining? No. And this right here is amazing. This was published 8 years ago from the Washington Post. And they're saying the unbelievable rise of single motherhood in America over the last 50 years. And guess what, boys and girls? We know this has gotten way worse recently. But here you can see back even when I was born, it was around 10% for the because all groups is red. It was around 10% when I was born. Now it's 41%. It's quadrupled. Same thing and that's for children unmarried births. And then you come down here to children living without or with an unmarried mother, which means single mom. Again, when I was born, it was around 10%. Now it's 25%, 24% to be exact. And this was from 8 years ago. Where do you think we are now? When you're a single mom, even if you're getting maybe some assistance from the guy, you still got to work. So now these women are having to be single moms. That's on them in a good number of the cases because they picked a bad dude or whatever, or they decided to file divorce because that's what most of them do. But they're single moms, they're unmarried moms, plus they want to work, plus, and they're grinding themselves into the grave. In the meantime, here's the amazing thing. In the meantime, men are like, I'm not looked at harshly for being a bachelor? Now it's cool to be a bachelor, like everybody's bachelors? Okay, no social pressure to get married, no social pressure to have kids, no social pressure to make sure I have enough for little Johnny to go to college and little Janie to go to ballet school or whatever. No worry about the house on the hill. I'll just have like a single bedroom studio downtown where I can party it up with my friends and go to pool halls and go out and drink beer every weekend, and the gym's right down around the corner. Wow, what an awful life. But that means there's less pressure on the men. And right here, this is from 2009. And guys, the trend is continuing. I try to sometimes pull older stories and then bring them forward. Study reveals men are happier than women. They say, are you surprised to learn that males are the more jovial gender? If you're a woman, you're likely to respond with a no kidding. That's right. Women have been plodding along, accomplishing the insurmountable tasks. Now, this is a big pat on the back for women about, they just can't have it all. They can't be the wonderful, amazing mom, and they can't have the full-time job at being an attorney. And you can't do it all. You know what? You know what that reminds me of? You know what happens when you can't have it all? It's almost as if like having a partner or maybe a spouse would be helpful. Then he could take the brunt, bring in the brunt of the money. Maybe if you wanted to, you could bring in a little bit. But then you'd have all the time in the world to spend time with your kids, make sure the laundry's done, clean around the house, make sure you have a tidy home. Gosh, wouldn't it be, if only there were something we could do that would help that. Down in here, one of the women said, and I don't know if it's in this article, and I don't see the paragraph, and I don't want to like blah blah for too long here, but basically she was like, well, when my grandmother was younger, all she had to do was worry about, keeping a home and maybe having a little garden and cooking dinner. But now I want all that, but I also want a kid, and I also want my career, and I also want it's because they've been told they can have everything they want. And the reality is striking home. They're like, this is too much. I can't do this. There you go. And this is another article from 2007, are men happier than women? And they go down through, and it kind of explains the same thing. And I'm not going to drill way down on this. But you guys get the idea, is that, women wanted it all. Women said, I want the family, and but they don't want the man. They don't want the man. And in these articles, and I'm not going to read them all the way down, you can do a couple searches on this. They say that young boys are now reporting that they're much happier. They say now it's up to 25% are now very happy, up from 16% in 1976. Now, again, maybe that's changing a little bit because these articles are a few years old now. Maybe that's changing now, but they're not trending way down. So boys are doing well. Some boys are doing well. Other boys are really struggling, I think. Because while the very happy may go up, I think the very unhappy for young men has also gone up. When you look at guys that are in their 20s and maybe young 30s, when I was a young dude, like even guys that weren't that great, like that much of a winner, they were able to have girlfriends, they were getting laid, but that's happening a lot less for a lot of guys today. So I think maybe it's the top 10 or 20% of guys are really much happier, and then there's a larger chunk of men that are maybe much less happy. But when they started doing the other part that they talked about here, and I'm not going to read this because I don't want this to be a 30-minute video, but the other part they talked about was that as men are aging now, they don't have the pressure of having a home, having to provide for a spouse, having to provide, put one or two kids through college. And what's happening now is boys are kind of being young men. When I say boys, I mean young men. Young men are now able to perpetually stay young men forever. And you know what? They're kind of okay with that. Now, yes, some of them, if you ask them about their dating lives and everything else, it's not going so well. But what they're doing instead is they're filling it with hobbies. They're finding other guys that are kind of in the same boat. And what they're doing is they get done with their work, and they're working, I think somewhere in here, they're working 30% less, or getting, they've slacked off by 30%. So young men are working 30% less now. They're working 30% less now. And yes, they are taking a payment or money cut on that, but they don't care because there's less stress and less pressure. So by being told that men are awful and men are the cause of everything, and men are just like, okay, I'm going to check out then. I won't participate in all the, I'm not going to go out and buy a big diamond ring and a fancy car for girls. I'm not going to worry about saving up for a big home and doing all this. I'm going to have a small studio apartment, play video games, hang out with friends. And, this is kind of universal. And one of the ways I know this, and this is kind of an interesting thing. When I was in Japan, I was staying in Tokyo, and I rented a hostel. And these hostels were basically like a mattress in it reminds me of a cupboard, like a cupboard big enough for I want to say maybe a twin mattress, like not the real narrow ones, but one step larger. And it was a little cubby hole, and they had a fan up in the top, and they had a little light up in there, and they had USB and a regular plug charge port. And I think it cost me like maybe $10 or $15 US a night. And I took it for 2 weeks, threw my bag in there, and then I could crawl in with all my gear, and it was very clean. They cleaned them every day, had a little curtain you pulled across the front, and you just listened to earpods. But what I noticed is it was attached onto a little, like downstairs was a little, it wasn't fast food. It was almost like a convenience store where you could pick up chips and candy bars and, ramen noodles that were Insta-Heat and things like that. And but above this, kind of in the floor between, they had a bunch of electronic dart boards. They had pool tables. They had air hockey. I don't think they had foosball. I don't think that's a thing in Japan. But they had like some like gambling type machine things. And you know what was in there? I bet every night of the week, including weeknights, there were dudes in there hanging out till 3, 4 a.m. I mean, there was almost always somebody there 24 hours a day, depending on what work shift they had. And they would just go in there and drink beers with their friends and listen to music and play some of these games and shoot darts. And occasionally, one or two of them would show up with a girl. That's all they did. And these were guys that were probably in their 30s. Men will adapt to all of this. And I think ultimately, men are good usually alone once they learn how to be alone. As long as they can get through the initial awkwardness or strangeness of being young and being alone, I think these young men today will eventually adapt to the new social norms. And then, again, I got to say, it's going to be the women that get less happy and the men that are more happy. I'm going to jump over and do some dating profiles and some funny other stuff. Guys, all my videos are exactly the same on betterbachelor.locals.com as they are on YouTube. The only difference is over there, I do a lot more content at the end of the video. It's free. All you got to do is go over and check it out. And if you want to become a supporter, I would appreciate it.